Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for our first episode of Right Side Talks. Now, this launch week is very exciting for all three of us sitting here today because it marks the beginning of a movement, not just an organization, not just a show, but a conservative-driven movement. Right Side Talks LLC is the organization behind all of this. We just launched that officially this week. The reason we started Right Side Talks LLC is because there's been a void missing when it comes to conservative and the youth, especially with the recent loss of Charlie Kirk. What we wanted to do is we wanted to start an organization, thus Right Side Talks LLC, to bring conservative young mind voices together from all across this nation to one organization, one community, one platform, because that's what it's all about. We have a lot of people who, of course, post out there, but we don't have a united organization between these conservative influencers across our social media platforms, and that's what we're trying to do here. But we're also trying to uplift people who are trying to get their voices out there, their recognition out there, and hopefully we can make a huge difference in the conservative movement. So with this being said, this is the start and the beginning to our Right Side Talks show, which the show is a part of the conservative Right Side Talks LLC organization. And again, it's the very first of its kind in the nation media organization for young conservatives. So this is going to be very exciting, and I'd like to thank both of you for being here today. They've been, the dream team right here with Nick Krebet. He is our creative director for the Right Side Talks show and Right Side Talks LLC. And I'm also joined alongside Cecilia Brown here, and she is our executive producer for the Right Side Talks show and Right Side Talks LLC. And again, just thank you both for it's been a phenomenal week. It really has been. And again, we're excited to come to you live here today. Thank you. So, with that being said, let's look into some of the issues that are on everyone's mind in today's day and age. And the first story we'll talk about comes with, of course, the infamous Epstein files. Just recently, over the past couple days, the House voted to initiate the launch on November 18th. They passed H.R. 4405, the Epstein Files Transparency Act. It's a bipartisan measure that mandates the Department of Justice to publicly release all case files and records related to Jeffrey Epstein. He is, of course, the convicted sex offender who died in federal custody in 2019. This includes documents on his investigations, his associates, and potential high-profile clients implicated in his sex trafficking network. The bill passed overwhelmingly with a 427-1 vote, demonstrating rare, near unanimous bipartisanship support and a divided Congress. The sole no vote came from Republican Representative Clay Higgins of Louisiana, who cited concerns over potential national security risk in releasing unredacted files. Shortly after the House vote, the Senate approved the same bill and a vote clearing the path for it to reach President Donald Trump's desk for signature. If signed into law, the DOJ would have 90 days to begin declassifying and releasing the materials, with provisions for limited redactions only for active investigations or classified intelligence. And that's a key piece here that I'm sure we'll be talking about in this segment here today. And also, just to touch on it, of course, the conspiracy theories surrounding Mr. Epstein's death. Of course, we all know they ruled it a suicide. But many people do not believe that, and it just makes a lot of sense why it doesn't. So let's get right into it. If we want to start off, who would like to take it?
So we had Clay Higgins vote no, which I found really interesting personally, saying it's a national security risk. It's not a national security risk. I think that if there are pedophiles among our U.S. government and other governments, because, he was closely involved with everyone across the world, I think we should have that exposed immediately. I don't think that should be a private thing. I think the world needs to know, that these people don't actually care about your kids. They don't actually care about your children, and we should start focusing on that more. I would also say it's pretty important that we focus on the fact that they're talking about, okay, well, if it's an active investigation, they could go ahead and release it and still blur out a lot of the names.
You're absolutely right about that.
I saw a reel on Instagram today And it was a joke, but they were flipping through what was the quote-unquote Epstein files, and all of it was in blacked-out highlighter saying redacted, said to redacted, about redacted, all this and that. But I think, to Clay Higgins' point, he's saying no because it's a national security threat. What really is the national security threat? Is it the ring of pedophiles of all these people, all these elites in power? Or is it the fact that, okay, maybe there's some people's names that, for whatever reason is a national security threat? What really is the national security threat here? You know what I mean? So that's sort of how I took it. I was like, I think the Epstein ring is a lot more of a national security threat than maybe whose names would be in there.
I wouldn't say national security threat. I'd say worldwide threat. Because if you look, like, Ghislaine had close ties to the one prime minister in the UK. So it's like he's kind of involved with everyone.
Especially with like Prince Andrew.
Yeah.
He got really caught up in it and been stripped of his royal duties in the UK. And then you also, what's interesting is, of course, Clay Higgins, he must have missed that text message or something between the House Republicans, because a week ago they were not going to release it. They was not going to. It wasn't going to happen until they swore in that representative from Arizona to beat the 218 signature, and then the pressure really started to build up, and then the government opened from the shutdown, and they realized this is going out. So I think, and especially with Trump coming out the night prior and saying House Republicans are going to vote for this and they're going to release it, and lo and behold, the next day they did. They did vote to release it almost, again, unanimously, but Clay Higgins was still very stuck in the sand about it. I'm not sure why.
He definitely missed the text message.
He definitely
He did not get invited to the party.
No. He was scrolling on Instagram, and he put his phone on Do Not Disturb because all the Republicans were blowing up his phone.
Right.
And he was like, I just want to scroll on Reels. And then the one important text came out that he actually had to read. And now he looks like a crazy man because of it, but that's his fault.
And I mean, like, his defense of it recently has been like pretty iffy. He said he said some interesting things coming out of it.
Oh, he absolutely did. I mean, you got to cover it. And I really, of course, none of us, and I don't think anyone in the United States understands his claim again that it's a national security risk. That is just, it's absolutely baloney. We're not going to be using an excuse for that to cover up for people who were involved in the sex trafficking ring. We're not going to cover for that. It doesn't matter who it is. I know there's many people who we may feel like we trust these people as celebrities or people we look up to, but if this comes out and we see people's names on there that we thought we trusted, it clearly, if you're a decent moral human being, you're clearly going to have a different mindset and opinion about that individual, and they all need to be held accountable. Now, the problem with that is these names that get released, who really knows what did what on that island?
Exactly.
That's the big question. Because you release these names, say, yeah, they were at the island, but that doesn't mean that they were doing things on that island, right?
Yeah.
You could have someone that went there. Maybe the Jeff Epstein young girl stuff was happening on certain weekends. And, of course, the people that were going there knew because it was that weekend. But maybe, again, it was just...
I feel like if you're hanging out with a pedophile either way, you should, like a known pedophile within that sort of world, you should still get some kickback.
Was it known? Was it known at the time, though, especially if it was going on
it's kind of been known for a while. I mean, you look, why is he hanging out with all these people? And then young girls have been saying stuff since, like, the early 2000s. I mean, I think he was fired from his original job for being inappropriate with young girls.
Mm-hmm. There is, and it sounds weird to say, but there is sort of let's say it's like 2005, and you're a real estate agent in New York. I'm not talking about Trump, but hypothetical. And let's say you get close with all these higher up real estate guys, and then there's this guy named Jeffrey Epstein, whom you've heard of, and he says, hey, I got this awesome private plane. We're gonna go to my private island and have a good time, and he doesn't tell you anything about all the horrors that are going on there at the moment. There's probably some people who are in that situation, probably some people who are oblivious to the fact of what was going on. So is there going to be some innocent people that are going to be deemed, or I guess condemned, or I don't know what the word is, convicted maybe, falsely convicted or whatever?
Right. I don't think
surely
anyone
there
will
is,
go to trial.
Maybe. But I mean, it's just unfortunate for the people that were put into those situations that probably didn't have any bad intentions and just wanted to hang out with, Jeffrey Epstein, who, before all this wasn't seen as the worst guy necessarily.
Right, exactly.
In the way he is now. So, yeah, it is unfortunate for those people, but I guess that's just life.
And how do you differentiate that, though? How do you differentiate the person who just went there because they got an invite and they had no idea what was going on those certain weekends or potentially happened? Maybe they were under the impression that these girls were over 18 years old. Maybe Jeff told them that. You have to take that into consideration, unfortunately, right? But again, to mix that group of people with the people who are actually doing bad things, how will we ever know? And I don't think we will.
I don't think we'll see a single trial come out of this release.
I don't think so either, which is unfortunate. If we maybe see some really bad and disgusting things, that's one thing, but who knows?
I think the most we're going to get is, like, files. You're not going to see the victims' names. You had 40 victims come out and sit there and be like, okay, this is what happened to me, and Kash Patel was like, we don't have any evidence. What are you talking about? Like, just ridiculous sort of things.
Yeah, so, of course, one of the big conspiracies flowing out there is, did Jeffrey Epstein really kill himself? We see a lot of the mob movies that come out, and they, or even we see a lot going on right now with Russia and how Putin, all these people fall out of windows from their hotels and they end up killing themselves, but we all really know what's going on. Is this like another situation here where did Jeffrey Epstein really hang himself and kill himself, or is this there's something deeper to this?
We do have to sort of look at both sides. Like, okay, what are the odds he did kill himself? I think it's maybe possible, and there's also multiple ways he could have killed himself. I know that the confirmed story, well, maybe I don't know about confirmed, but the story that's told is that made a noose out of bed sheets. It's also entirely possible for him to like just break his neck, and I know that's not what was reported, but I'm saying it is possible to commit suicide even in solitary confinement. But obviously they take a lot of measures to try to make sure that doesn't happen. But there's also the other side that's like, this is a guy, Epstein, who's got a lot of power, and he's close with the feds. And it's like, are they really gonna, and for lack of better words, slime out their own teammate?
Right.
I guess teammate.
I mean,
it's a weird thing
2
to
out
say,
of the
but
3 people have died in custody. And, you don't die in prison custody by committing suicide that often. That's my whole thing. Another thing is, like, looking at the picture of the bed sheets, I don't think they're heavy enough to hold him up. I don't think they were strong enough to hold him up. I don't think Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. When they released the footage, it was clearly doctored. You can go into and look at, like, the file notes. You can see that it was edited. It was poorly edited. So my whole thing is, I don't think he killed himself. I don't know if he's dead. Maybe they took him away. Maybe they put him back on the island by himself.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I think he was killed. I think there was people who were higher up in our society, higher up in our government. They wanted Epstein dead.
You know what? That's a good point. I didn't think about
They wanted him dead for what he knew, because he had
something on everyone.
Exactly. He had dirt on every single one of those high-ranking politicians, businessmen, and women in America. He had something on every single one of those people that went to the island and were involved, which we know a lot of those names who went to the island. And again, do we know what they didn't know? We don't. But here's the thing. We know who did know, and that was Jeffrey Epstein.
Maybe.
So how do you make sure word doesn't get out? You kill him.
Yeah.
Maybe the pictures in his house. I just thought of this. Maybe they were like blackmail. Maybe that was hung blackmail for each person. I mean, the Monica thing before it came out probably had a picture with the dress hanging up in his house.
Oh, right. You got that picture of Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
With the Monica Lewinsky dress on.
Yeah, maybe
dress
that's like
and-
hung blackmail. Maybe he has one of those in his house for multiple people,
Maybe.
and we only picked up 1 or 2 of them.
Right. That's an interesting picture, but also the one with George Bush on it, too, where he's sitting down, and crisscross, and he's got the paper airplane next to the Jenga tower.
Oh, yeah.
Collapsed on. Weird pictures, and of
stuff.
course, he was a very strange person, which also leads me into the recent emails that came out. I think it's a weird fantasy about what they're saying with Bubba, who is the nickname for Bill Clinton. And there's a weird fantasy email about President Trump, given whatever Bill Clinton, what's our thoughts on that?
That's also the same name as Ghislaine's horse, and it's also a nickname for a child. Which we talked about this a little bit.
So any
It's
of those
what-
scenarios.
Any of those
I
scenarios.
mean, which one's the worst?
I'd say
I think the horse.
I think the horse. I was gonna go with the kid, but
The
like
kid's bad.
I mean, the kid.
I feel like
but
the kid and the horse are like pretty much. I don't know. What do you want me to say? I feel like no matter how I answer this question, it's right.
For this story, it's definitely referring to Bill Clinton as Bubba. So, but
I mean, we could have the first gay president.
stop.
Second gay president. That's another conspiracy.
We're not
theory,
going
though.
there.
We're not going there. We don't.
We're editing.
But you
that
know
out.
what? You know what? One thing that this does remind me of is okay, we had the Epstein stuff, and then we had Diddy. Yeah, that's one thing we think about. So it's like, you know, you had all these people in power who are, you know, in these rings and whatnot, and it's like, in a way, you got to think like, why now? You know, and I think that's because, like, these guys have dirt on everyone, and you know, maybe they're gonna turn around and maybe they got beef with someone, and they're saying, hey, you know, I got you doing this, and that, and then they get everyone rally against the one person.
Well, you have that one guy from that '70s show that was really close to Diddy, who owns like a thing to save children, which is weird. Which is weird because I don't know if that's guilt or not. I don't know if he felt so guilty that he was like, I'm doing these horrible things to people. Like I gotta like balance out my karma.
How did Diddy get away with 7 years for what? For what was going
It's
on
it's
there?
that simple. If you got lawyers good enough, you can get away with anything. I mean, like look at Montero.
Right.
They're the best lawyers in the world. The MLB has the same Montero
Right.
lawyers now, and you have people like Trevor Bauer, which might be a pull. I don't know if anyone watches baseball, but you have people like
No,
Trevor
that's-
Bauer.
Yeah, I actually followed the Trevor Bauer situation
You look at
quite
stories,
closely,
you look at stories like Trevor Bauer, where you have this man who was proven innocent by the women confessing that they wanted to extort money from him and that they were openly lying and they were openly trying to, ruin this man's career.
Right.
You have the MLB still banning him after he's been proven innocent twice now, and you have the women paying him money because they came out and they fully admitted they lied. So it's one of those situations where I think if you have enough money, you can get away with anything.
That's the unfortunate reality of the world.
It
To be
really
Yeah,
honest.
you can get
Yeah.
away with anything.
It really is.
I mean, like,
And it's sad. And so looking to the future, maybe the next few months, maybe within the next month, because they say we're gonna get the Epstein files, the full Epstein files, from the DOJ within the next 30 days.
90.
What is going to happen? What are we gonna be talking about in a month from now?
That's going to be a read. That's going to be a read. I'm going to sit there with my highlighter and I'm going to go
Yeah.
through. But, I mean, I think we'll see a lot more people involved than we expected. I think it's been known that people in Hollywood like to do some weird stuff in their free time. I don't look forward to reading it, but I think it's important that people know.
And how do we differentiate stories that may also come out from what is real and, again, what's also a fantasy? Going with the Trump and
Yeah.
Bill Clinton thing, that's obviously a fantasy. It's a weird fantasy because Epstein's a weird dude, and he had weird sexual fantasies. He's not only a weird dude, he's evil too, but he's sexually weird. And that was one of his fantasies that he liked. But again, how do we, in the emails that come out, which I'm sure there's more, how do we differentiate what's real, what's an Epstein fantasy? That's going to be very critical.
Yeah.
I think you'll see proof. I unfortunately think that house was covered in cameras and people didn't know.
Well, we'll very well see.
Not unfortunately. Not unfortunately
unfortunately?
Not unfortunately that house was covered in cameras. Like, I think the house was covered in cameras and people didn't know. And now they have to pay the price. So, like, if the emails do come out to be true, there might actually be a video out there circling around that the CIA has seen. And they're like, do we release this or not? I mean, they already said they're not releasing videos, which I'm happy they're not. I mean, there's underage girls involved.
Right,
I'd like to probably keep that private.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like the public to be able to see that. And I mean, throw them in the incinerator.
Yeah, that's the huge thing because people want the full thing, full blown everything. But we need to protect the victims in this. Again, they were young women and in many cases underage. We cannot be having those videos go out into
That's
the public.
feeding.
And if we say there's many people, for the government standpoint, oh, we're not going to be releasing those files. The public, however, is going to say, oh, if you're not releasing that, what else are you going to be holding back? Which I just think is a very awful way to look at it, but that's going to be the truth of it. The public is going to be wondering how many of the files and whatever needs to be out there, what that they want, how much of it's going to be held back, and they're going to be wondering how much more.
That's a good point. That's where all the redacted stuff is going to come.
Right.
I think did I send you that? I saw that reel. Redacted.
Yeah, I saw
Guess
that
who
too.
Redacted was with? Redacted. And guess what they were doing?
Redacted.
Redacted.
Yeah, right. Which we may see that, but I don't think they'll do that.
No, I don't. It won't be to that
What might-
severity.
Right, but what might happen now is that they won't have any redactions. But the stuff they release, the files they release, will be the unredacted stuff.
Yeah.
So whatever would be redacted won't be released, and people will think, "Hey, this is
We'll
it."
think
this
we
is-
got the full thing, but it's like all the redacted stuff is like.
Well, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be
Yeah.
hard for them to lie. I
Right.
mean, they lie about a lot. It would not be hard. I mean, even if you look at the MLK, right? His family sued the government and won,
Right.
and no one talks about that. His family literally sued the government for his assassination and won against them.
And that gets you into the whole
I had no idea.
You didn't know that?
No, I
we
didn't
will
know
talk
that.
about
We'll
that
talk
later.
about that later.
Yeah, and that gets into the whole thing with the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Every time, of course, this is not an assassination, but every time there's a big deal and it involves the government, people have conspiracy theories. And I just think whatever comes out, people will not be satisfied and the conspiracy theories will not stop.
Is it wrong for the American people not to trust their government, though? I mean, I don't.
I would say no. And I also want to touch on this. Here's the thing. The Epstein files were prepped and ready, and they were for the Biden administration. The Biden administration could have released these files if they wanted to. I know the Democrats have been attacking on this and saying, release the files now because they think Trump's on it or something. Why didn't they release it when they had control of the presidency, the House, and the Senate?
I kind of have a hot take on this.
Yeah, go
I
for
don't
it.
think it's a political issue. I don't think it's a party issue. I think they're all involved.
Right.
I think they're all involved. So, I mean, not running on releasing the files, right? You kind of save your ass a little bit because you don't
Right.
have, this expectation, oh, he's going to release the files. But, I mean, you ran on releasing the files. I think he also ran on releasing the JFK files.
Right.
Completely cleared. And then you don't do it immediately.
Right. And that's definitely something we need to think about. But again, the Epstein file has been the hot button issue, number one for people. And again, I do have to ask, why did the Biden administration not release the files? They had the total capability to do it. They could have. So I don't want to hear the Democrats saying, that the Trump administration's hiding something or they're editing the files and making it clean for Republicans. Look, you guys had the files 4 years ago. So I don't want to hear it. I really don't. They had the files, and if they cared about it this much, then they would have released them, but they didn't.
That is the one thing that's has Trump taken time on this? Yes. Has the Democrats and Republicans gone back and forth on should they be released or not? Yes. But the one thing you do have to consider is that the Biden administration had the files for a long time. Nothing happened. And the Trump administration has had the files for a year.
Yeah.
About 1 year.
Mm.
And we're finally getting something. Is it as soon as we wanted? No.
Absolutely.
It wasn't. But am I happy that we are getting it? And I am happy. And I think we're all happy. And I think for the first time, this isn't just another empty promise. And I think it's definitely not considering the 427-1 vote. I think it's definitely not considering Larry Summers from Harvard University coming out and saying that he had ties to Epstein. Maybe he wasn't on the island, but he had ties. So I think we're going to finally get something.
Right.
And progress is progress.
We certainly will get something, and I can't wait to talk about it on our show whenever that happens.
That's going to be fun.
It will be very
One
interesting.
thing I want to touch on is how Ghislaine has been getting whatever she wants in custody. That's one thing, because I want to know your guys' opinion on that a little bit. Because I know I have my own personal feelings. I feel like you guys could assume what they are, but.
Yeah. You want to go first?
Oh, you got it.
You know, Ghislaine Maxwell being in custody, and I'm surprised she's still alive. I will say that, but I think that'd almost be too obvious if she happened to kill herself as well, right? You know, wink, wink. I'm surprised because she did go to trial. And there, of course, I don't think we really got a lot of information from what came from her trial, but she knows
Everything.
a lot
She
of
knows
went
everything.
down, and she is able to take down a lot of people. But I think she's kind of saying, "Hey, you kind of collaborate and work with I don't know who, but we'll take care of you."
Yeah.
I don't know how, but that's
Yeah.
what must be happening.
Yeah.
Because if no one was taking care of her, she would be telling the whole world the story. She would be, absolutely. I mean, again, you know, I've seen it in Colorado. You didn't go to trial or anything like that, but Ghislaine did, and we're gonna see what happens. Seriously, I am a little suspicious of what's going on there with her, with her treatment.
Yeah.
I would say it's definitely been very lenient. However, I don't. They say it's almost because she could help with the investigation and give information, which, oh yeah, she could. But again, what information will she be given to the public? Is it only information that's going to help her case to maybe get out of prison or a lighter sentence? What information will she give out? And of course, she's going to give out the information that's going to help her case. Why wouldn't she?
Do you think she'll get a plea deal?
I think she.
Oh no. Do you think she'll be pardoned?
I don't think she'll be pardoned. No, but I also do think if the government could offer her a deal, if you help us with information and with the investigation, she could very well get a deal to get out get out of jail free card, right?
Yeah. And honestly, that's sort of where I was going with it. First off, the situations with her and Epstein couldn't be too similar for people to know, okay, something is definitely going on. But also considering she is getting a lot, her treatment is pretty obscure, for a prisoner. It's alarming in a way because what it sort of speaks to me is that the feds aren't totally against her. They're still working with her.
Mm-hmm.
There's still something going on. She might even be getting appeased in some way.
She's in a minimum security prison right now.
And that's another thing. Like Jeffrey was in solitary, she's in minimum.
They
so
moved
it's like
her. Yeah.
What's really going on here? It's like I think there might be some appeasement.
She's in a minimum playground. Let's be real.
Yeah.
She's not in a
I know
prison.
she has a bunch of outside time.
Prison, but yeah, it's a minimum playground. I would almost call
And
it.
also, one thing we have to consider is that, like, when the feds are dealing with someone like the Mexican cartel or something like that, they don't necessarily make their environment amazing so that, they can get more information for their case. They if anything, make their situation worse and say, we'll make it a little bit better if you give us this information.
Mm.
But they're just giving it all to Maxwell right away.
Right.
Without even really getting, besides stuff that we know, without even really her giving much information, So it's like, it's just like, okay, what's really going on?
But do you think she'll get pardoned?
No, I don't think so.
No?
I think that'd just be a little bit too much. Of a
That would be too
red
much.
flag,
That would be too much.
I don't know.
Any final words on Epstein?
I think that's pretty much it.
That is pretty much it. Well, for today.
For
Stay
right
for
right
today.
now.
Stay tuned.